Hello, people, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and transfer news show. Wasn't live yesterday, so lots more to talk about in today's show. Of course, as soon as I go live, the internet likes to go shit. I just think my internet has gone from being shit to being really shit, so I do apologise. Let me know what the quality's like, as always. But action-packed show, because we've obviously got the Villa Man United preview for tomorrow's game. Obviously, news has come out on Jude Bellingham to United, but the news on Jude Bellingham is a little bit more negative. And now, all of a sudden, some positive news about Enzo Fernandes, who I've watched Benfica this season. They topped their Champions League group with PSG and Juventus in Benfica. They are absolutely insane. And Enzo Fernandes is a big part of that. Is linked to Manchester United, the midfielder. Tier 1 sources saying United are going to go in for Enzo Fernandes. He is a midfielder that is wanted. We'll get into the news on that, the reliability, where it's come from, how likely it is to happen. Would it be a January or summer thing? Victor Osimhen to United, a player that we all want at United. I think for me, Victor Osimhen, Frankie de Jong, right back, and Diogo Costa. And I generally believe that Ten Hag could win the league. Like, that's how much I rate Victor Osimhen. He is linked to United, and Samuel Lutkow's got some inside information about Man United going for Victor Osimhen, which we're going to talk about in a second. Samuel Lutkow's obviously gets information directly from the club, has been briefed by the club about their transfer activity plan and what they're going to do, and we're going to get into the Lutkow story. But also, really interesting stories come out about the Glazers secretly planning on selling United. It's not Jim Ratcliffe. Jim Ratcliffe's ruled himself out of buying United, but people saying, as Jim Ratcliffe ruled himself out of buying Man United because someone else maybe is, and there seems to be a non-disclosure agreement going on about the Glazers actually having talks to sell Man United. We're going to get into that story. Wan-Bissaka is very close to joining Crystal Palace, rejoining on loan. Fred getting a new contract, people. Interesting story there. The World Cup squad. Anthony is out. Sancho is out. Rashford getting called up for the World Cup. And we'll probably talk about general football in general towards the end of the live show. So I want to ask you guys, first of all, to smash that like button. And second of all, make sure you subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Lots and lots to talk about. I want to get right into the bit about the Glazers, and then I want to get into the transfer news, and then we can link the transfer news to other news. But just let me know, mods, people in the chat, what's the internet like, because it's just got so bad lately. And I'm paying all this money, and it's still crap, eh? I think it's just where I live. But let's go into it. And Def says, if the Glazers sell the club, it will be great for United and the EPL. It's not the same without a great United team competing every year. Exactly. And I'll tell you something before I get into the news. I miss the Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool days. Fuck Man City and your money. You're boring. No one cares when City win the league because their fan base is so small. No one cares. You know, when we're sitting here as United fans actually wanting City to win the league so Liverpool don't. We as United fans are more bothered that Arsenal are top of the league than City because City are an irrelevant club. The Premier League needs prime Arsenal, Liverpool and United back. Arsenal, Liverpool and United, three biggest clubs in the Premier League. At the prime, them three of them, the Barclays Day. I tell you what, I want a Premier League season where it goes down to the final day between Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal, and ultimately Man United win it, because it would just be the most exciting, because we are the three biggest teams and we should be the three best teams. But we don't act like the best team. In fact, Manchester United's owners act like they're in 20th place and they're the Norwich City of the league. No, you're Man United, you're the biggest club in the Premier League, so act like one. So let's dive into the story about the Glazers leaving and a couple bit of information. Now, before I get into this story from British agent Hayden Dodge, I want to say this. A lot of reliable sources. I'm talking Alex Crook, I think Paul, what's he called? No, I can't remember what his name is. But another journalist, Mike Keegan, a lot of people in and around the Man United space, good journalists, said that, you know, there's a likeliness the Glazers could sell United in the next 2 years. There's a likeliness that, you know, the Glazers' time will be up for United. And a lot of this was around, you know, to stay in the Premier League now, you've got to spend loads and loads of money. The Glazers don't have that. We know from The Athletic, we know from reliable sources that the Glazers are actually trying to sell off minor stakes of Manchester United. And the Glazers, for a while, have been trying to sell off minor stakes of United and apparently offered the Saudis, who brought Newcastle, 30% of United for 700 million, which I don't really believe that, because they value the club at 4 billion. So 30% would be over $1 billion. But apparently, Man United are desperately trying to raise money, selling off bits of the club and all that as well. But there is news about Man United having a full sale in. Now, this news is weird because today we've been told that Jim Ratcliffe will 100% not buy United, which we know because Jim Ratcliffe announced that a few weeks ago. But people are saying, could this story about Jim Ratcliffe not buying Man United not be because he can't buy Man United, but in terms of it's not for sale, or maybe because the fact that someone else is trying to buy United? And British agent Hayden Dodge on Manchester, who is talked about Manchester United today, and said there are talks taking place to sell the club with investment companies in the United States. But as usual, everyone involved has been forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So he is saying Manchester United Glazers are in secret talks about selling the club, but everyone in and around is in non-disclosure agreements. And the fact that it's non-disclosure agreements, I'll be honest, if the Glazers are selling the club, then I feel like they're selling the club to someone awful, because, you know, they would probably want this news to be leaked or something. You know what United are for leaking news. You know, if this is true, and the fact that it's so secret and non-disclosures about selling the club and that talk's taking place makes me worried that us fans would react badly to potentially who's talking of buying the club. They also want to sell with investment companies in the United States. It's all interesting at the moment, but there are apparently secret talks going on with the Glazers to sell United. I still think the Glazers will sell United in the coming years. I don't think they're going to sell them just yet. I think they're going to milk as much money as they can out of United, but I do think in the next 10 years, United will have new owners. And a lot of good journalists are saying in the next 2-3 years, they expect ownership change at United or changes. We know that the Glazers have been feeling the pressure more than ever. We know that although Jim Ratcliffe is out of the race, there's a lot of interest in United. The Emirate of Dubai is interested in Man United. A lot of American companies are interested in Man United, but also a lot of American owners are pulling out. You know, FSG is pulling out of Liverpool. Could the Glazers be pulling out of Manchester United and ready to sell it? It's an interesting one, because I don't know. There's this whole big thing that Man United keep coming out saying they're not going to do anything in January. They're not going to do anything in January. And for me, you know, you can look at this two ways. We're not going to do anything in January because we never do anything in January and the Glazers are a piece of shit. Or maybe the Glazers don't want to do anything in January because maybe they don't expect to be here in the summer. Now, as I said, you have to take every news with the Glazers selling with a pinch of salt. They obviously love United. They love taking money out of Manchester United. But, you know, there could be secret talks going on about a sale. I don't know if it'd be a full sale. It might just be like bits of Man United, you know, stocks or a percentage of Manchester United. But, you know, we know that the Glazers have been looking to sell a chunk of Man United to raise funds. But however, the chunk that they were looking to sell wouldn't give the people that buy United any power. And the thing that worries me is that the Glazers are selling United, but they're not selling the club. They're selling bits of the club, you know, and giving people getting money, but actually no one has any power but the Glazers. I mean, let me know your thought on this report. I'm going to follow up by what else this report said before I get into news as well. Dodge said that the Glazers' valuation for United is just under 4 billion. Now, this matches up with reports coming from a lot of good journalists that the Glazers value Man United at 3.7 billion. Now, we had news come out 3-4 months ago that the Glazers value United at 3.7 billion. And if someone came in with a full offer of 4 billion or over 3.7 billion for United, the Glazers would be willing to sell. Joel Glazer would be willing to sell. So again, the fact that he does mention that, you know, the Glazers give the club a full valuation of 4 billion and the talks are secret and in non-disclosure agreements, potentially it could be over a full sale if they're being quoted at 4 billion, and maybe Jim Ratcliffe can't buy United because he's aware the Glazers are negotiating with someone else. You could always see it something like that. But all in all, I look at this news and I go, this is obviously a report that there's talks taking place to sell the club with investment companies in the United States. But as usual, everyone is forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement. I really read this as, if true, we're probably selling the club to not the kind of owners we want. I'll be honest. I think if we are selling the club, it's going to be to another Glazers as well. And British agent Hayden Dodge did speak about the Glazers and said every penny will be scrutinised and chastised due to the public nature. Old Trafford needs a revamp as well, so that's a big problem, and the owners know they're continually under the microscope. And following up on this report, Hayden Dodge said, basically, the Glazers will be looking at selling at United because they do not have the funds to revamp Old Trafford, revamp the training ground. You know, if you look at the Bernabeu now and how they've just done it up, and then you look at the mould at the side of Old Trafford and the leaks, like Man United, Old Trafford, the Theatre of Dreams, one of the greatest historic stadiums in England, the biggest club in England, the only team in England to win a treble, the second biggest club in the world after Real Madrid. And you look at Real Madrid, and their new stadium is the stadium of the biggest club in the world. You look at Man City, their stadium is a stadium of winners. And you look at United, and I've been in Old Trafford multiple times, damp, leaks, shithole. I love Old Trafford. It's such a historic stadium, but it's not been looked after. And they're saying basically, because the Glazers don't look after Manchester United, because now Old Trafford's going to need a revamp, The training ground's going to need a revamp on top of the squad, on top of this long rebuild, that the Glazers, and on top of the mounting pressure on the Glazers, this is what he's saying. He's suggesting that the Glazers actually secretly might be looking to sell Manchester United and wanting to sell Manchester United because there's significant pressure on the Glazers more than ever. You know, the amount of protests we've had, you've also got to think that the Glazers have got to spend more and more money now. Newcastle in the race, Arsenal have got their act together, Spurs have got their act together, Chelsea have got new rich owners, Man City have got rich owners. If Liverpool get rich owners and you've got people like Villa and Wolves that are attracting top managers, rich owners, you know, if the Glazers want to be in the top four, they've got to spend a lot more money. Can they compete with that? No. They've got to do up the stadium. Can they pay for that? No. Are the fans getting more and more annoyed and attacking the Glazer family members? Yes. We know, and remember this. I did a video on this ages ago, and if I can find the source, I'll go back to it. The Glazers had a meeting in September about selling the club. Now, this was leaked information that the Glazers had a meeting in September about selling the club where certain members of the Glazers family and the board thought it was right to sell Man United. However, Joel Glazer disagreed and Joel Glazer had the final say. But we know other members of the Glazer family are getting fed up with United. And there is always potential for the club to be sold. There's always potential that there could be talks going on now. I think with Liverpool's owners selling, with the money crisis going on, I do think, you know, and a lot of reliable journalists saying back in September, August time that, you know, the Glazers' time is nearly up. They believe the Glazers will sell in the next few years. I do generally believe this story that there is something happening behind the scenes. I take it with a pinch of salt. I know that the Glazers want to milk every bit of money out of United. We spent a lot in the summer, which makes me think they're here to stay for a couple more years. But I do think in a few years, I think there is potential that the Glazers will go because they won't be able to sustain the price of United. Junior says, with Liverpool's American owners looking to sell and their business acumen is better than the Glazers, they now realise they cannot compete financially. And United need 2 signature strikers like Lewandowski and Kane in the January window with a 200 million budget. Well, that would be absolutely brilliant, but that's not going to happen. And Aid said he feels sorry for Jim Ratcliffe if he ends up with Liverpool. We wanted the mighty United. Jim Ratcliffe won't buy Liverpool, but Jim Ratcliffe did come out and rule himself out of buying Manchester United as well. And this, you know, Jim Ratcliffe said he can't buy United because it's not for sale. As much as he'd like United, it's not for sale. However, you know the Glazers, they would rather sell United and get a bit more money to some crappy other new owners that are just like the Glazers and someone like Jim Ratcliffe that would like it as well. In 10 years, fuck, get that gone. The milk needs to out of our club. I tell you what, I have to say this, and smash a like if you agree with me. Old Trafford needs doing up. The squad needs doing up. Everything around Man United needs doing up. And the thing that annoys me about Man United is Bournemouth have screens in their stadium. Bournemouth, little club like freaking Bournemouth, whose stadium was too small to be in the Premier League, actually have screens in the stadium and have these things in these stadiums that Man United don't. We are the biggest club in England and our stadium leaks, collapses, it's got damp all over it and it's a mess. And we are Manchester United. And, you know, for me, Jim is not going for Liverpool. Jim Ratcliffe did rule himself out of going for Liverpool, and they will do, they can't afford it, not mention the Super League. This is what I wanted to get into, Super League. Being realistic, Chloe, there's 2 things that I think will happen. The Super League happens and the Glazers stay, or the Super League doesn't happen and the Glazers go. That's my thing. I think the Glazers are holding on to United because by the way, people, the Super League's not over. The Glazers and co are working very hard to make the Super League happen. The Super League is not over. Just because it wasn't approved the first time, your Real Madrid, your Barcelona are in the mud financially. Barcelona need the Super League more than anything. Look at the money Barcelona spend. They're still shit, selling off their TV rights and all of this. Barcelona are in the mud financially as well. Teams like Barcelona, Man United and Real Madrid, who are the 3 most powerful teams in football, the 3 biggest teams in football, and if FSG was still going to be at Liverpool, he'd be involved now, are still trying to make the Super League happen. They're still getting involved and doing everything they can to try and make the Super League happen. They're going all out trying to get the Super League thing to happen. And I'll say this to you now. If the Super League happens, the Glazers are here to stay. I think the reason the Glazers didn't sell in the summer when the pressure was on them is because they're still working on the Super League. I think the only reason the Glazers are still here, because I don't think they can actually financially afford to run United much longer unless they want to just make us even worse, is because of the prospect of the Super League returning. And I think if they're not able to return the Super League in the next few years and put this idea up and get it accepted, Real Madrid, Man U, Barcelona, and bear in mind there's still a possibility the Super League will happen. You know, people forget that. I think if the Super League is completely out of the realms of possibility, I think the Glazers will sell. I think the Glazers have two options. They wait and see if they can get the Super League idea approved so they have the finances to run United and not have to worry about how shit we are because we'll always be in the Super League, which is what they want. Or the Super League doesn't get approved and the Glazers actually go, we don't have the money to do this, we don't have the money to do that, we don't have the money to compete. And eventually sell United, which would be mad. The Super League is the Europa League. Well, the Super League is the Premier League. You know what? I'll be honest with you. If they want the Super League, you might as well just make it Premier League. Because I tell you what, the team, top 4 managers in La Liga are coming to mid-table, lower table Premier League clubs. You add maybe a Real Madrid, a Barcelona to the Premier League, a Bayern Munich to the Premier League, a PSG to the Premier League, maybe your AC Milan, your Napoli, and a bit of a Benfica are looking great at the moment. And that is your Super League. Because I tell you what, the 10th place in the Premier League comes 4th, and it comes top 4 in any other the leagues. I'll say that now. I tell you this, I feel like Aston Villa would come crap at the moment under Gerrard, would probably come 4th in all the other leagues. Maybe not Italian league, actually. They do have some good clubs there. But I just think the Premier League for me is the Super League. The Premier League is a level above everything else. But the Glazers are desperately trying to make that Super League thing happen. And but you've got to remember, it's not just the Glazers. Barcelona need the Super League, the Glazers need the Super League, and Real Madrid want the Super League, and Juventus want the Super League. And they are some 4 of the biggest clubs in football really pushing for the Super League. The only reason, and I have to say, I hate Man City and I hate Chelsea, but the only reason the Super League didn't happen was because Abramovich and Man City's owners actually care about their fans more than other owners. And, if it wasn't for Man City and Chelsea, the Super League would be happening, people. And the worst part about the Super League was, all these Premier League teams and all these La Liga teams and all these other teams, it wasn't Bayern actually, agreed to join the Super League. All these teams agreed to join the Super League, yeah? But their owners weren't the ringleader, right? Woodward, Joel and Avram Glazer and Florentino Perez were the ringleaders behind it. Man United's owners were the people that came up with this idea. Man United's owners were the ringleaders behind it. And what did they do? They sacked Woodward. They let Woodward take the fall. And we didn't like Woodward. Woodward needed to be sacked. But the Glazers knew that they were going to come under so much fire for the Super League idea, so they blamed it all on Woodward and let him sack. Okay, but Woodward's gone and we're still working on the Super League, Glazers. They're a mess. I want to actually talk about something quickly because we're going to get into the Bellingham news and we're going to get into the transfer news, but I think you guys are going to find this really interesting. So Manchester City's accounts have come out. Now, let's talk about this. Is interesting. So Manchester City are kind of known for lying about how much money they generate. In fact, Man City are known for lying about how much money they generate. They're absolute full of shit, that club. And Man City's so-called accounts have come out, la-di-la about how much money they make. And apparently Man City have generated a lot more money than Manchester United this year. The news coming out is that Man City have generated more money than United this year, la-di-la. So then Man City, and it's funny, and this journalist did some research on this, and this is how obvious Man City achieves. So this journalist did research on one of Man City's big buyers, sponsorship deals, whatever it was, and they found that this company that had given Man City all this money, they Googled on LinkedIn, and they Googled this company that apparently was paying Man City all this money, so they could afford to do all these transfers without financial fair play. And a large portion of Man City's money was apparently coming from this company, according to this journalist. If you go to that company's LinkedIn page and you reverse image the LinkedIn profile picture, it goes back to an Asian porn star. This is what a journalist had found. So Man City are lying, apparently. I'm just saying apparently, it's what a journalist has said about where their money's coming from. And this company that's giving Man City a load of money so they aren't breaking financial fair play rules, LinkedIn picture, if you reverse image it, is an Asian porn star. So it's probably some fake company Man City have made up so they can not get done for financial fair play and cheating yet again. And that is going to link me into the Bellingham news, because reportedly Man United cannot go in for Jude Bellingham because of financial fair play. Absolute bullshit. Man United never need to worry about financial fair play because our owners contribute nothing. Whereas Man City's owners, who have broken financial fair play again and again and again, broken all the rules, paid themselves out of it, absolutely cheating, I'm pretty sure are making up fake companies that are giving them money, because there is no way in hell Man City generated more money than Man United. There's no way. Their fan base is tiny. I'm going to say this now, and if I can find the report, for that, I'll show you. If I can find the report about Man City lying and all that, I will show you. I'll get it up. I'll have a look. mid-live stream. But basically, Man City, they've got so much money, and football's so corrupt. And money in football, you know, it's got all kinds of power. But I really hope one day Man City get caught out, because everyone with a brain in their right mind knows that Man City, this is it. This is one of the things. I don't know if this is the one I was talking about, knows that they're little cheats. But I think this is one of the ones I found. This isn't the one I wanted to show you, but this is someone. So this journalist said, last tweet of the night, huge congrats again to Man City's commercial team for raising their income in 2021-22 to more than 13% to 309 million, or more than 50% of total income. Man United could only manage 258 million. So this doesn't seem legit. I want to quickly talk about this. Man City have less fans than Man United, apparently get more commercial income. So that's from fans. Commercial income comes from fans, comes from sponsorship, comes from kit sales. We just signed Ronaldo, the biggest player in football. We are bigger than Man City, yet apparently Man City make more from commercial income. He says it seems totally legit. And then he scrolled down, and this was it. When City announced 8xBet as a commercial partner in July 2022, just out of interest, a LinkedIn profile of one of 8xBet's co-founders is a woman supposedly called Trin Tu Trang, and had this image on her LinkedIn profile. You scroll down. This person's image, which appears to be a stock image shot anyone can use to depict an Asian businesswoman, is now used in loads of places, and she's apparently a bisexual cam model. So this is the co-founder of this company giving Manchester City all this money, which is a stock image of an Asian businesswoman who apparently is also a bisexual cam model. So Manchester City apparently generate more money than us because of this business deal with a stock image Asian woman as the LinkedIn founder. I don't know how they've not been found out, but I did think that story was quite funny. And I did think I'd get into it as well. But I'm not a journalist. I don't know the truth in this story, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Man City were doing something dodgy. And if they are doing something dodgy, at least try and make the LinkedIn profile picture not a stock image of an Asian woman that's a bisexual cam woman as well. But back to the Glazer topic. The Glazers are planning a big recruitment drive summer. This is to increase shape price of the club. So if the Super League can't establish within 2 years, they will sell. Going back to the point about the Glazers. So basically, my point on the Glazers is the Glazers are only here because they are waiting for the Super League. The Glazers are begging and hoping that the Super League happens. But if the Super League is unable to happen, reports coming in is that the Glazers will probably sell because they won't have the money to cover United, which is coming from reliable sources. The Glazers value United, I think, £3.8 billion as well. And we know that the Emirate of Dubai could afford that price if he was really interested in buying it. But if I'll be honest, I think the Glazers will sell United, just not do a full sale. I think they'll sell bits of the club to raise money. And if I'm being honest with you, I wouldn't put it past the Glazers to sell our TV rights, activate economic levers like Barcelona, and absolutely leave Manchester United in the mud. You just never know with the Glazers. You absolutely never know with the Glazers. I tell you what, they're bloody bastards, aren't they, the Glazers? But let's get into a few more stories as well. Guys, I just quickly want to ask, please do smash the like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. David says football is a business, not a sport. David, and you're right. And Junior says, with Liverpool's American owners looking to sell and their business is better than the Glazers, they will now realise they can't compete financially, and that Man City fans are fuming, and Glazers want to make several billions. Nobody stupid will pay that. A lot of people have a lot of money in this world. I think people out there can afford United, but I think the Glazers won't sell unless they were going to get way more than they value United at, if I'm being honest as well. And are using a high-class hooker, typical Man City. I still can't believe the stock image of Man City's business partners LinkedIn is some fucking Asian cam girl. They're just that club, man. They don't even try and hide it. But I actually want to get into some other news, get away from the Glazers, get away from the stinky-ass Glazers, and actually talk about transfers from Samuel Lucas. I want to get into the Enzo Fernandes story, but we'll start with the Victor Osimhen news. And then also we'll go through the transfer news. We've got Victor Osimhen, we've got Enzo Fernandes, we've got Bellingham, we've got Gakpo, we've got a Romano update, we've got Wan-Bissaka nearly to Crystal Palace done. We've got a lot of transfer news to get through. And then when I've done the transfer news, we'll talk about Man U Villa. We'll go into Ten Hag's press, or what Ten Hag said in his press conference. And then I do want to actually discuss just World Cup stuff, just general football topics. You know, like we were just doing a ramble about Man City, general football topics as well. But Just in, Victor Osimhen is of interest to Manchester United as they draft up their long and short list of goal-scoring targets next year. So Samuel Lutkers has confirmed Victor Osimhen is one of them. We know right now Sesko is a striker Man United want. Vlahovic is a striker Man United want. Ivan Toney is a striker Man United want. Victor Osimhen is a striker Man United want. They seem to be the 4 strikers that Man United are interested in pursuing. And we know from Fabrizio Romano, we know from David Ornstein, in 2023, Manchester United will 100% sign a long-term striker replacement for Cristiano Ronaldo. It was said we're 100% signing a striker in 2023. Now, I think Victor Osimhen is right at the top of Ten Hag's list. It doesn't take a journalist to figure out United will want Osimhen, because Osimhen fits Ten Hag's style to a T. He's done it in multiple, well, he's done it in 2 European leagues. He's been fantastic for Napoli. He's young, but also what Victor Osimhen does is he doesn't just score goals. He can kind of create opportunities for himself. When United aren't creating loads of chances, having a striker that isn't reliant 100% on service and can actually link up play will be very important as well, because we lack of creating chances. And, you know, he's just an incredibly talented player. The one thing I will say about Victor Osimhen is there's no way we're getting him for less than 100 million. Napoli spent a lot of money on him. He's been absolutely incredible. Napoli will not want to sell. The difficult thing is we might want Victor Osimhen, but he will cost us a lot of money. And with us spending 100 million on Anthony, with us spending a lot of money, and with us needing a midfielder on top of Victor Osimhen, you know, do United have the money to get Osimhen? That is the question. Do we have the money? Yes. Will the Glazers spend the money? That's the real question. You know, because Ten Hag wants Diogo Costa, who's got £60 million release clause. Bellingham would be 100 million if you got Bellingham. Frankie de Jong would be 60 million if you got de Jong. We also know that he likes Enzo Fernandes, who will probably be around 60, 70 million. Benfica are good at getting good prices. He's been absolutely fantastic. You know, could we afford 100 million on Osimhen? The question is, do we have someone of value to Napoli? Is there someone we could include in the deal that Napoli might want? Honestly, most of our players are shit and Napoli have good teams, so probably not. Now, I want to continue more on the Victor Osimhen story, but before I dive into the other stuff as well. People saying they like Sesko. We're on 106 likes, so let's push for 200 likes. João Felix is not a Manchester United target. It's been confirmed that United are not interested in João Felix, but we are interested in Osimhen and Vlahovic. Let me know in the live chat, if you could bring a striker to Manchester United, who would you bring to Manchester United? Really intrigued to see who you bring as well. But the second part of this story is Osimhen appeals to United as he's thrived in 2 major European leagues. And what I want to show you here is Osimhen stats sofa score. I want to actually show you a little bit about Osimhen. I can't say his name now. So this is the right player. So he's 23 years of age, people. And, you know, 23 is young. Like, this guy's got 10 years in him probably. Quite tall, good player, not like pacey, has it all. I mean, I think he's worth way more than that. Obviously, this is his sort of ratings. All in all this season, 9.3 here, but look, over 7s, you know, heavily involved in games. He's played a total of 10 matches, which he's started 9 of, and plays an average of 81 minutes per game. And he's made it into the team of the week twice for the Serie A as well. 8 goals in 9 starts, goals per game, nearly a goal per game as well. Shot on per target every game, 19% goal conversion, not scored a penalty, so all his goals are open play as well. Very versatile, right foot, left footed, headed goals as well, and 2 assists. He's averaging a goal and assist every game right now in the Serie A at 23 years of age. And I'll tell you what, Napoli have been playing some absolutely brilliant stuff as well. We will get into Man United, Aston Villa tomorrow, people, as well. And no way he's 23, he looks 30, says David. You think he's older than he is, but you forget that he was actually only about 20 when he went to Napoli, wasn't he? And he was absolutely bossing it at Lille. Like, Napoli paid a lot of money for him because he is set to be one of the next big strikers. Now, I want to get back into some other transfer news, and then before we get back into some other topics as well. Ten Hag obviously had his press conference today, people, as well, but I want to go a little bit of a rant. Well, not a rant. I want to discuss general news. I don't know if you guys watched my video yesterday about the 10 players potentially leaving United, because we will touch on that in a minute. But it was also said by Samuel Lutkers, there is already a glowing clamour around the United fan base to sign a forward in January transfer window, but the club's preference is to start the next phase of the rebuild in summer. Surprise, surprise, surprise. I did want to just clarify this for you people. I'll be honest with you, we will get a striker, but I don't think we'll get it till the summer. I think potential for Gakpo to come in if United really need reinforcements through injuries at the World Cup, maybe Ronaldo leaving. because Gakpo could be around the £30 million mark, which is affordable. Wan-Bissaka will go, and I believe we'll get a right back in January. I believe if any business is going to happen in January, although I think we need a striker the most, it will be a backup right back, because Wan-Bissaka to Palace is reportedly nearly done, which we'll get into. I do think that right now it's a shame that United don't go out for a striker in January. But I do think realistically, if we get a striker, it'll be in summer. And you know what? I think as well, Napoli won't sell Osimhen until the summer. Ivan Toney probably won't be available to the summer. Vlahovic won't be available to the summer. I think, to be fair to United, a lot of their long-term striker options won't be available to the summer. But if I were United, I'd bring an attacker in January and then get a long-term striker in the summer. So I'd bring Gakpo in, who maybe isn't an actual number 9 himself. And then in the summer, when our long-term striker is available, go for that. But I'll be honest, I think if United are going to do any spending in January, I think it's going to be a right back. I do think that all this avenues is probably linked to summer as well. People spoke about Lautaro Martinez to United. I think he's a good striker, but we've not really been linked to him. He's a player that we always get linked to, but I don't think United have ever had any interest in getting. And the Glazers won't sign anyone in January if they have plans to sell the club. United need to sell players before they buy new ones. Absolutely spot on as well. Obviously, we talk about the Glazers' plan to sell Manchester United, the Glazers hoping to sell Manchester United and all of that as well. And if the Glazers are seriously planning on selling Manchester United, or do in fact want to sell Manchester United, they wouldn't spend in January. And, you know, we go back to the news that we were just speaking about a second ago about the Glazers coming out and wanting to sell United. If we generally go back into that news that the Glazers want to sell United and the Glazers want to do this and the Glazers want to do that, maybe the Glazers not buying in January is a sign. The Glazers, despite it being so obvious that United need signings in January, despite it being so obvious, the Glazers have come out time and time again. Mert has come out time and time again. And people in and around Man United have come out time and time again and made it very, very clear that United don't plan on spending in January. It's been made super, super clear United don't tend on spending in January. Could this be because the Glazers don't think they'll be here in a year's time, so they think there's no point investing in January if they're secretly planning to sell the club? If we go back to what we spoke about at the beginning of the video, a non-disclosure agreement going on about the Glazers secretly in talks to sell United, well, if we don't invest in January, if we don't do anything in January, is it a positive thing? Because could it maybe hint that the Glazers are selling? Or are they just being classic Glazers and not spending in January because they didn't spend in the January before or the January after? You could look at the Glazers not spending in January and two things. You could rant and rage going classic Glazers not spending in January. Or you could go, oh, this actually does link to the report that the Glazers are secretly planning the sale of United. Now, if you've just joined the live stream and you want to know about the Glazers secretly selling United, then scroll back to the beginning of the live stream, because we spoke about this non-disclosure agreement between Glazers and American companies potentially buying United and the Glazers having it secretly for sale. But if you've already watched that bit, don't worry, we're going to dive into a little bit of transfer news as well. Napoli won't let Kamara and Osimhen go together as well. Yeah, I think Napoli won't let Osimhen go unless we pay a crazy amount of money. And why don't the Glazers make transfers at January? This is the thing. The Glazers don't like to spend in the January transfer window unless they have to. The only time we properly spent in the January transfer window in recent years was to get Bruno Fernandes in, because my God, we needed Bruno Fernandes or we would have had a shit show of a season. Now, let's actually go to this. Let's actually look at the transfer windows under Ole. I think I tweeted this here. This was our summer transfer window under Ole. Bear in mind, Bruno and Igalo were obviously in January. We spent 87 million euros on Maguire, 55 million euros on Wan-Bissaka, and 70 million euros on Dan James, aka 50 plus 80 million pounds, 130 plus 15 for Dan James. We spent nearly 150 million on Daniel James, Wan-Bissaka, and Harry Maguire. 150 million on Daniel James, Wan-Bissaka, and Harry fucking Maguire in the summer. No wonder we had to buy Bruno Fernandes in, who single-handedly saved that year of transfers. But the question is, what transfer window was worse? The transfer window where we spent 150 million and brought in Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, and Dan James, or the transfer window where we didn't spend that much money, where we spent about 70 million, but we brought in Donny, Amad Diallo, Telles, Facundo Pellistri, and Cavani. Cavani was good for half a season, then demanded to leave and caused problems last season. Facundo Pellistri wants to leave United. Alex Telles was shit. Amad Diallo actively is just not working. We spent crazy money on him, and Donny's not working. I mean, seriously, how shit are we at transfers? I'm gonna say this now. one thing about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, whether you love Ole or not, Ole's transfers were shit. Bar Bruno Fernandes, Ole's transfer, and Varane, okay, Ole's transfers were shit. Varane's been good. Bruno Fernandes has been good. You could argue Ronaldo's been good, but we didn't need Ronaldo. We needed a DM when we got him. Sancho's been a flop so far. If you take Bruno and Varane, have been Ole's only transfers that have not been shit. And the one good thing, well, one of the many good things about Ole going is at least we have a manager now in Ten Hag where I trust him with money. Imagine this. You wonder why United got to the level it did this time a year ago when we were trusting Woodward and Ole with our money. Woodward and Ole. Ole who's not really got any experience in scouting. Shocking. At least with Ten Hag, we might be spending 100 million on Anthony, but we can see why he wants Anthony and his potential. At least with Ten Hag, Sandro Martin has been a motherfucking beast. Casemiro's been a motherfucking beast. Eriksen's looked decent bar the last few games. Malassia's got the dog in him, bringing out the best in Luke Shaw. Erik Ten Hag's signings have done more than all of Ole's signings. Like, generally, Lisandro Martinez is done more than all of these players, maybe bar Cavani already at Manchester United. Like, and I just look at Ole's transfer window and I go, how did we manage to spend 130 million on Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James? Like 150 million, that is. Do you know what you could have got for 150 million that window? A lot better. We could have got really good DM for the future. We could have got a very good centre-back in instead of Maguire. I mean, we could have got De Ligt, but I do think De Ligt was massively overrated. You know, we could have brought in someone just much better than Wan-Bissaka. Apparently, we scouted 200 right-backs and chose Wan-Bissaka. It blows my mind how bad we are with money as well. I mean, the 2022 transfers are a lot better, thank God. Thank you, Ten Hag, as well. And any kind of selling the spying happens in secret nowadays. All the rumours drive up prices as well. The Glazers selling United is very secret, which is interesting, isn't it? And American companies buying Man United is bad because they want to take the money out of the club like the Glazers have done. This is the thing, going back to the Glazers secretly selling Man United, the fact that the Glazers are reportedly secretly selling Man United and in talks with American companies doesn't fuel me with confidence. And as Diego says, make sure you smash that like button for all the latest news. And 30 million for Ahmad and Palestri is no joke. I think they've barely played a match. I believe there's a top player in Ahmad and Palestri. Do you know what's going to really annoy me? I reckon this is what's going to happen. We spend 30 million on Ahmad and Palestri. We sell them for about 10 million combined, and then they go on to be really good players when they leave Man United. I bet that is what will happen. Palestri don't want a loan. Palestri wants to go. But watch us sell Ahmad. Watch us sell Palestri. Watch us get half the money, if that we sold them for. Watch us barely get any money for them. And then watch them leave Manchester United and ball up. I bet you as soon as we sell them, as soon as we get a bit of money for them, they'll probably leave Man United and be really, really good. You just know that's what's going to happen. We'll get no money for them. They'll leave Man United and they'll be bloody incredible. I tell you this now, but I mean, Amad Diallo, if his actual price could raise to £38 million. The actual price of Amad Diallo could even potentially go up to £38 million, people, because of add-ons as well. But I don't know. Like, I tell you what, I still think there's a top player in Ahmad and Palestri, and I'd actually rather, and maybe it's just my opinion, but I'd rather Ahmad and Palestri get a go than Elanga, purely for the fact that we've seen Elanga multiple times. We know what Elanga brings. I just think Palestri and Ahmad have got more potential. And myself, I'd rather play Palestri and Ahmad. Guys, please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. We've got a few more stories to get into as well. I hope the Glazers don't succeed in getting the finances to build or renovate Old Trafford Stadium. They'll be there forcing the pending exit. The thing is, you're right. We want Old Trafford to be done up. We want Old Trafford to look better and all of that. But also, at the same time, you know, if the Glazers get the funding to do Old Trafford, it means they're more likely to stay, which is true. I did a bit of a jokey tweet the other day. I said, confirmed Frankie de Jong will be coming to Old Trafford in 2023. After 7 months of negotiations, Mertens is relieved. Club statement, Frankie de Jong will arrive on the away team's bench when we play Barca in Europa League. By the way, Man United getting Barcelona rigged. You know what? I watched it. The guy who pulled out the ball in the Europa League, 100 million% pulled out that ball and knew it was Man United. He pulled out that ball in the Europa League and he knew it was Man United within seconds of pulling out that ball. He knew it. He saw him put Man United in. He kept his eye on that ball. He holds that ball and he goes, "Oh, Man United, Barca. It's not rigged." Bear in mind, last year in the Champions League, they gave us PSG. And then remember, they got the pots wrong. They tried to rig it to get Messi versus Ronaldo. And then they got caught out on it. But this year, they've rigged it to make Man U Barca because they know Man U Barca will get more views than anything else. If you do not think the Champions League is rigged, then I don't know, because they will do what they can to get as many views as possible. And that is why Manchester United with Ronaldo would, of course, get PSG with Messi, and then they fucked it up. You wonder why we always get dodgy opponents, because they know Man United versus another big team is a crazy game. Man United, Real Madrid, Man United, Barcelona is the dream matchup for any Champions League and Europa League people, because it gets mad views. I'll tell you that for a fact as well. And I tell you, it's so rigged as well. But you know what? I'm actually, as David said, we're going to cook Barca at home. Other than Lisandro Martinez being out, which worries me, I'm actually so excited for Barcelona. I mean, obviously I couldn't get tickets. No one could get tickets. I'd love to have got tickets, but I'd have probably been busy anyway. But I'm excited for the game. I tell you this now. If we win, and I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, if we beat Barcelona, you know what Anthony did to Jorginho when Casemiro got that 90th minute header to equalise against Chelsea? If we knock Barcelona out, I want someone to run up and celebrate in front of De Jong. I want like an Anthony or a Lisandro Martinez to start going crazy and celebrating in front of Frankie De Jong. I do. I want them to go mental. Now, I know that actually there was more to Frankie De Jong rejecting United for the Europa League. He actually rejected United due to wage issues with Barcelona. But I tell you this now, anyone who's going to be in Old Trafford when we play Barcelona, they are going to be taunting De Jong on the bench. De Jong in the Europa League, De Jong in the Europa League, Frankie, where's the Champions League? They're going to be saying something like that. But I really hope we win. And I know sounds really bitter because it's not even De Jong's fault, it's Barca's fault. And Anthony or someone shithouses De Jong and goes, yeah, in his face. I don't know. I really hope we knock Barca out. I hate Barcelona. I fucking hate Barcelona. And I swear, please, United, knock them out. But I'm scared that we're going to get cooked at the Bernabeu. Dembele versus Luke Shaw. No Lisandro Martinez. I'm worried. Frankie de Jong's going to destroy our midfield. Barcelona, I feel like, could destroy us. So I think we'd have to sit and counter-attack Barca. I am worried, though, as well. With Ronaldo, nothing's impossible. Ronaldo to come off, get a hat-trick as well. I think yellow cards are scrapped after the group stages, so Martinez should play the first leg. That's what I thought, but apparently he can't. Do you know what's annoying is I think they should make it so you can appeal it, because if you look at all three of Lisandro's yellow cards, none of them were even yellow cards as well. Barca don't stand a chance against us. How do you actually feel about Man United getting Barcelona, people? Do you feel like confident, or are you like, nah, like not confident for Barcelona? Like, let me know how you feel as well. And I think Ahmad deserves a chance in our squad, and maybe loan Alanga to Championship for development, says Mummy Ra. I think that Ahmad is obviously on the Championship loan for development, but I think Alanga needs the same. Alanga's not good enough as well. And Frankie wanted to join, but his wages were demanded. It's true. To be fair to Frankie, we'll make all these jokes about him being in the Europa League, but he actually would have joined if it wasn't for the wage issue. That's what reliable things are saying as well. And I meant Nou Camp. Obviously, as well. Not Bernabeu. What am I talking about as well? But I can't wait. I tell you what, the Europa League this year is better than the Champions League. I mean, who wants to be in that crappy Champions League, guys, when you could be in the amazing Europa League? But talking of Europa League, talking of news, talking of general chitty chat, guys, my thought process is, okay, would you see being knocked out of the Europa League as a bad thing? And the reason I say this is because some people are saying, oh, if we get knocked out to Barcelona, it's not that deep. That means we'll have less games because of our lack of squad depth. We're more likely to get top four. My thought process is, yes, I want top four. If we get top four, I think that's going to improve our luck in the transfer window a lot more. But my thought process also is a little bit like, okay, I want top four. Top four is great. Proves our luck in the transfer window. La-di-la-di-la. Top four would be brilliant. But I just think, I think the Europa League is such an underrated trophy. Like, okay, my ideal trophy is the Premier League, followed by the Champions League. I would take the Europa League over the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. If you win the Europa League, you win a trophy, and you're back in the Champions League next season. And to win the Europa League the season that Juventus, Barcelona, and Arsenal win it, and Arsenal are very good at the moment, among other good teams like Ajax, Sevilla, who always win it, Sporting are a good side as well. To win the Europa League this year, I think would be the hardest year to win the Europa League. I think this is the most difficult the Europa League's ever been. And it would almost be bittersweet because imagine winning the Europa League when it's this hard to win the Europa League. It almost make you believe you could win the Champions League in a weird way. Does that make sense? But I do think the Europa League is going to be very exciting. And the only thing that I'm worried about is no Lisandro Martinez. How will we cope without our best centre back? Because that basically guarantees Maguire plays. That basically guarantees Maguire will be coming up against Lewandowski, Ousmane Dembele, Ansu Fati, whoever Barcelona have. And I don't know how you feel about that as well. But I've got a couple other things to get into, a couple other news or bits and pieces, people, as well. Samuel Luckhurst did say that sources have said United are continuing to compile a long list of shortlists of targets for the summer recruitment process, and that there's added pressure on Man United to have a attainable shortlist of targets as a number of elite clubs are expected to be in the transfer market for a goal scorer next year. So United want Osimhen, but apparently United are making excuses already for Osimhen as well if we don't get him. But I think it is... I want to get something up, and I think Man United MPB tweeted it. These guys were a bit clickbaity, I'll be honest with you. But they tweeted something that I thought was quite interesting, if I can find it. They delete their tweets as well after time. This is the thing. So, yeah, I want to get into this news story quickly. MUFC MPB said it's true. Manchester United want to sign Enzo Fernandes in January. And this was said via a DM Tier 1 journalist, apparently. But there's been a lot of reports that Manchester United are in for Enzo Fernandes in January. If you don't know who Enzo Fernandes is, we spoke about him last year when he was playing for River Plate. Very good, young, up-and-coming DM. I said, look, I don't know a lot about this player, but from what I hear about him, this is the kind of deal United should do. Young player that could develop under Ten Hag. La will be relatively cheap because he's at River Plate. Obviously, goes to Benfica. Smart move. Benfica are great with young players. And like when I say he looks brilliant for Benfica, I've only watched about 3 Benfica games, but this guy is good. Like Benfica this season, they won a Champions League group with Juventus and PSG in it. Benfica topped PSG and Juventus in the Champions League. Benfica, I don't even think they've lost a game. Like Benfica are playing mad, and this is the guy in midfield for our Benfica side that is untouchable. Yes, it's the Portuguese league, but look at them in the Champions League. This Enzo Fernandes guy is balling it up. And right now, if we're getting told, I know that Enzo Fernandes is more of a DM than a ball progressing midfielder, but he's still a great player. If we're getting told 150 million for Bellingham, we could get Enzo Fernandes. I'd go for Enzo Fernandes. This guy that United want, I tell you what, is a baller. Now MUFC is saying that United want to sign him in January. He's saying it's true. Manchester United want to sign Enzo Fernandes in January via Tier 1 source. Look, I'll be honest. This Twitter account is a bit clickbaity. I don't think we will get him in January. I don't think we want to sign him in January because I don't think the Glazers want to sign anyone in January. But I think he's a fantastic player. He would be a fantastic signing. I don't think anything will happen in January. But I think come summer, when Man United will be looking at a striker and a midfielder, and we know that Man United will be looking at a striker and midfielder, this will be someone we'll look at. And this would be, and I say this now, this would be an absolutely fantastic signing. Absolutely fantastic signing. I just think he's a brilliant player. And I'll get into the other story on him now, actually, because there was another story on him. I can find it as well. And it was said via Portuguese sources. And another source came out of Portugal. And look, unless Romano says we're interested in signing in January, or Ornstein said we're interested in signing in January, I'd take it with a pinch of salt. But it's said by Record Portugal as well, and sourced out of Portugal, that Ten Hag's Manchester United are crazy about signing Enzo Fernandes in January. And they're the main interest club in the player. So there's a lot of reports that Man United are going and crazy over signing Enzo Fernandes in January. Now, my thought process, if I'm being honest, is, okay, clicks are down for journalists. They're going to make up stories, use Man United's name for clicks. I'll be honest, that's what journalists do. They'll use United's name for clicks, and they'll come out with a clickbait story that we're going to buy someone and all of that. I would take this story with a pinch of salt, unless Romano, unless Ornstein, unless one of those top-tier journalists gets on this story. 100% would take it with a pinch of salt. I'll tell you that now. However, he would be a fantastic signing. If we get him in January, my God, that is brilliant. That if we get him in January, that is absolutely brilliant, because I think he does play more DM, but we do need midfield depth. However, I 100%, the reason I say take the story with a pinch of salt is because if Man United sign someone in January, it'll be an attacker and a backup right back. Ten Hag views a striker and a backup right back as his number 1 and 2 priorities, and midfielder comes third. Man United's plan is bringing a right back in January, get rid of Wan-Bissaka. That is the plan. If we do something in January, that is it. Potentially, if Ronaldo goes in January, we know from David Ornstein, Man United will be able to make room for a DM to come in. Potentially, if Ronaldo leaves in January, we will make room not for a DM, for an attacker to come in. But I think in the summer, it will be midfield. I think I don't think we're getting a midfielder in January. Unless there's some injuries to Eriksen or some crucial injuries, I don't see United doing anything in the midfield in January. I don't see United doing much in January, but I think if we do, it's a cheap right back and an attacker. However, he is a great player, and I wouldn't be shocked if Ten Hag was looking at him in the summer. However, as it was just said by Samuel Lutkos, that Man United are looking at a number of players. Man United are looking at a big range of players, and their shortlist could compose of 20 strikers, 20 midfielders, and he could just be one of 20 targets. Is he attainable? He's only just gone to Benfica. Benfica might charge a fortune. Other teams might look at him. I think, look, Bellingham, De Jong, Enzo Fernandes, that's on the midfield list, sorted. Striker list, Ivan Toney, Vlahovic, Sesko, Osimhen, they're on the striker list. But there's a lot of teams looking for a striker. There's a lot of teams looking for a midfielder. And I think it will be a competitive period. 151 likes, guys. So let's go for 300 likes. So do smash that like button. Liverpool will be interested as well. Liverpool need midfield. Liverpool need a midfielder just as much as us, especially with their midfield aging as well. And they being very low on depth as well. So, we have to compete with people like Liverpool. His release clause is 120 million. If you look at the money they got for João Felix, they'll charge a crazy amount of money as well. And Portugal and Netherlands really became Europe's academy. Benfica and Ajax are two clubs that are very smart. They go and they've got very good scouting systems, and they've got very good owners, and they develop players, and they make a shit ton of profit. I think Benfica's the club that's actually made the most money in terms of net profit out of all the football clubs. I think it's like Benfica, then maybe it's followed by Ajax, and then I think it might be followed by like Lille or Monaco. But they're very smart, Benfica. It might even be followed by Dortmund. They're one of those clubs where, what? If I was the Glazers, I'll be honest, if I was the Glazers, I'd be looking at getting someone in that works for like a Benfica or an Ajax to do the scouting, recruitment, and development for United, because I'd say I want someone in that's going to buy these hidden gems for world cheap, get them some good loans, get them under a good manager and coach like Ten Hag, make them really good, and we'll buy a £70 million player for 10 million. And we can sell them. If I was United, I'd be looking to do what Dortmund do, Ajax do, Benfica do in the scouting department, and actually bring in some top players. But United are very, very stupid, and United are very, very incompetent, and United will happily hire a clueless buffoon like John Murta to do transfer bids list and spend 100 million on Anthony because he was too lazy to do it 2 months prior when he would have been 40 million pounds, and you've just lost 40 million pounds there. So if Man United owners actually had some brains, they would employ the people that Benfica employ, Dortmund employ, Ajax employ, rather than some banker that was mates with Ed Woodward called John Murta that's a buffoon, or bloody what you call him, Richard Arnold, rugby guy. Richard Arnold's highlight of the summer was going to the pub and having a few drinks with some United fans. And being spotted in Barcelona. My name's Richard Arnold. This summer, I got spotted with a beer in Barcelona, and I got spotted having a beer at a pub with some United fans. I never got spotted doing actual work. Oh, honestly, they have to give it to the teams as well. Van der Sar would have been a brilliant signing as well. And Sporting is the Portuguese team with the most players developed in the club, playing like Big Five leagues. They are crazy as well. Scouting isn't a problem. We lost out to Bellingham as he wanted first team football. True, scouting isn't the only problem. It needs to be improved in terms of recruitment strategies. We did scout Moises Caicedo, that's brilliant at Brighton. There's a lot of players that United have scouted and had on their radar that we haven't signed. I will say that. But there's a reason we haven't signed them, because one, the people higher up don't want to spend the money and take the risk. And two, if we do try and sign them, they look at how unsustainable Man United is, the amount of managers they've had, and actually go, it's not even about game time, it's about what's best in my career. And tell you what, if I was an up-and-coming young player last year and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted me, and even though I support United and I love United, if I was an up-and-coming young player, 17, balling out in England, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted me, but then, I don't know, someone like Jurgen Klopp wanted me, or even someone like Graham Potter of Brighton wanted me at the time, I generally think I would have gone to Brighton for Graham Potter over Ole for Man United, because I would think, Man United will come down the line. What would be best for your career? Because you know what Ole would do if Ole brought a great 17-year-old. Look at Ahmad. Look at Palestri. Not used, not given a chance, given a crap loan, boom, boom, boom. So, I think that's been a problem as well. I think with Ten Hag coming in now, though, if I was a young 17-year-old this season and Ten Hag wanted me, then I'd move to United. But last season under Ollie, it wouldn't have, like, even though I love United, if I was a young player and I was, I wouldn't have gone to United as much as I love United last season. And I understand why players wouldn't pick United, especially young players. But now we've got Ten Hag in, I would see why players would pick United. Now we've got Ten Hag in, I actually think it'll appeal to young players more. And I do think that, that'll be a factor of if the Glazers are willing to spend and if we get improve the recruitment, I do think under Ten Hag that Man United will be able to attract some of the best players. I think Ten Hag is that manager where, a lot of people actually rate Ten Hag very highly. Casemiro came up publicly and said one thing he noticed about Erik Ten Hag is he does something that a lot of managers at Man United, that a lot of managers he's worked with under the past hadn't. He said, Casemiro said Erik Ten Hag loves winning more than anyone else. Casemiro said Erik Ten Hag wants to win so much. And Casemiro said he's only seen that in very few managers. And Casemiro has been in football a long time, under some of the greatest managers, won it all. And he said there was something about Ten Hag and his ability to win. And a lot of top football players really do rate Ten Hag. And I do think, if you have an Ollie at the wheel or you have a Ten Hag at the wheel, and to be fair to Ollie, you got Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho to United. But I think if you're a player that you want to better your career, Ten Hag's the type of guy you want to work with. If you want to get to the top, you're like, I want to work with that Erik Ten Hag. That Erik Ten Hag sounds like a good manager as well. We did scout Bellingham more than Pellistri. We did scout Bellingham. We did scout Moises Caicedo. Rangnick suggested Julian Alvarez. And then, do you know what? I don't know what's more annoying. The fact that United actually do scout these hidden talents and these really good up-and-coming players, or the fact that they scout them and they don't buy them. Like, it's like, okay, you've got these scouts, you find these hidden gems, your Julian Alvarez's, your Moises Caicedo for 4 million at DM, who's now worth 80 million and brilliant at Brighton. Your Haaland's be found before we'd even gone to a top 5 league. Man United find all these top players, and we'll get linked to them because we're linked to everyone, and we scout all these top players, and then we don't pursue them. It's almost like I wish we didn't even scout the top players, because it's like we scout all these top players and we don't pursue them. It's idiotic as well. Like the amount of players that we've been linked to that have ended up being brilliant and they would have been really cheap at the time and available, that United have just passed up on in January or passed up on in the summer because they don't want to take the risk. I think it's crazy. Enzo Fernandes balling up at Benfica. We wanted him. We were looking at him. Moises Caicedo balling up at Brighton, now being quoted like 70, 80 million. We were looking at him. We wanted him. When I say we wanted him, Ollie wanted him. And that was someone decent that Ollie would have wanted for the future. I do think that United, do scout the right players, but then we don't choose to pursue them. And I think maybe with Ten Hag again, he might force United to pursue those kind of players, because Ten Hag is a little bit like Rangnick in the sense of he's very good at developing youth. We know that when Ten Hag came to United, he put down 3 rules. He put down 3 things he wanted to happen when he came to United. He said, I want the youth academy to be better. I want to have close access to the youth academy. I want to make contracts hard to come by. You can't get a new contract at Man United unless you deserve it. And the third and final thing Erik Ten Hag said when he came to United is, I want the final say on who we buy and sell. I want to improve who we buy and sell. So maybe if Ten Hag really does push for a hidden gem now, we might get them. But it's very frustrating, isn't it, as well? And United should look at Nuno Tavares from Marseille. Isn't he like an Arsenal player though, isn't he? And I don't think Ten Hag even knows or trusts our youth defenders, as they haven't played, or even with Delo out a lot of games, Ten Hag didn't trust the youth right backs. Well, Ethan Laird's on loan. But to be fair, like with the young, I understand Ten Hag not dropping a 17-year-old in the Premier League game. That would be very naive. I'd have liked to see more 17-year-olds in the Europa League games like Iqbal and stuff. But a lot of people say, oh, why doesn't he give Mengi a go instead of Maguire? I understand why you'd play Maguire over Mengi. You can't just drop a 17-year-old in a Premier League game, even if they probably could do a better job than Maguire. It's not fair on that player. It's it's just that's my opinion. Ethan Laird is on loan as well, by the way. I want to talk about a 17-year-old though. Actually, you guys will know who this is. This is like someone that is just like meant to be. This is someone that's been spoken about for years. Is Mukayoko, whose contract expires this summer, and clubs like Liverpool and United are looking at a 17-year-old striker. This, I'm pretty sure, is the striker that at age 13 and 14 broke all these records at Dortmund. This is like one of the youngest, best up-and-coming strikers as well. Like, I don't know a lot about this player, but I've heard about him for years. And if we even like Google him here, I'm pretty sure his youth academy numbers were insane. I don't know if we can get his youth academy numbers up because I don't know if it's published. But look, he's 17 and he has 6 goals and 3 assists in the Bundesliga. He's 9 goal contributions in 13 Bundesliga games at 17. He I think he was the youngest ever player to play in the Bundesliga. Now, obviously, we know what the Bundesliga is like. We know Sancho got 20 goals and 20 assists at 18 in the Bundesliga. We know that Werner's brilliant in the Bundesliga, but crap in the Premier League. Look, we know what the Bundesliga is like, okay? It doesn't take an idiot to figure that out. But to be 17 and get 6 goals and 3 assists in the Bundesliga, that's still an achievement as well. If you look at him I think this could be his academy stats, is it? 4 matches, 10 goals. 20 matches, 34 goals. Like, these stats, the youth, you're telling me he got 44 goals in 24 matches. 44 goals in 24 matches. This is a guy that's out of contract in the summer that United could get for free. Now, Man United need a young striker. And look, I wouldn't say that he's ready. I think that he would be good. I think he'd be like Garnacho. I think he'd be raw. But United need a young striker. And he's out of contract very, very soon. He'll be 18 when we get him. I'm not against this. 12 goal contributions in 1,000 minutes of football at 17. 1,000 minutes of football at 17, 12 goal contributions, striker, centre forward, 6 goals, 6 assists, involved in play in general. His academy number, like, come on. I don't know if you can see this here. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Can you see this here? These academy numbers. 58 games, 11 goals for the first team. 56 games and 90 goals. 25 games and 47 goals. 90 goals and 56 games for the under-17s. Obviously, like, he's a youth player, but that's just insane stats, people. That's just insane stats. And, there'll be a lot of teams in for him, but I wouldn't mind United going for him for the future. For the final part of this video, we're going to do the preview to the Aston Villa game, people. We've got Aston Villa coming up next as well. It feels like FIFA in real life, and I've signed Mukiyoko in Football Manager before. He's one of those people you get in FIFA, isn't he, as well? What happens to Charlie McNeil? Yeah, he's doing well, but he's not hit it off like Garnacho levels. But Charlie McNeil will probably have his time soon. A lot of people say McNeil are better as well. But we're going to end off the live stream by talking about the Villa game, because I didn't go live yesterday, then I have 2 days of stuff to talk about. So I seem to waffle a bit more in this live stream. But I want to talk about the Villa game and who I would play. I think, that game at Fulham at the weekend is very, very important. We need to get a result versus Fulham. Fulham are a good team. Fulham are going to give us a very difficult game. No doubt in my mind about that. I think the Fulham game will be very, very difficult at the weekend. So I would rest a lot of players. You've also got to remember, we're not playing Villa's strongest squad. You'd also expect Villa to be resting people for this cup game. I know that we've been getting knocked out in the cup very early last season. So, my thought process is Ten Hag going to be that bothered about getting knocked out? Which might sound crazy. But will Ten Hag be super bothered about getting knocked out in the sense of we've got a lot of games coming up, we don't have the squad depth? I wouldn't be playing proper serious teams in the Carabao Cup. Even though I haven't won a trophy in years, even though we need a trophy, I think when top 4 is actually obtainable this season, like if we were going to come 8th this season and do an Arsenal, I'd be going all out for the trophies. But when top 4 is actually obtainable because of the form of Liverpool, because of the form of Chelsea, because of Spurs not looking that good, how do you feel about the Carabao Cup, guys? Would you take it seriously, or are you like, nah, like we could actually get top 4 this season, let's not fuck about with City Cup competitions? Now, what I will do is I'll put the lineup I'll play him. So for me, I would play Delo because Delo cannot play against Fulham. However, there's a part of me that's like, if we're going to play Wan-Bissaka in the Premier League game, maybe we drop him in a game like that to warm it up. I would play Malacia left back and rest Shaw. I don't think there's any need for Martinez, if I'm being honest. I'd rest Martinez for the Premier League game, and I would play Lindelof and Maguire because I would rest Martinez for the Premier League game. Remember, this is a Carabao Cup game. Again, I would rest Casemiro for the Premier League game, and I would probably rest Eriksen as well. So I'd probably go. But then do I want to go with Scott McTominay and Fred? That's a difficult one. Would I go with McFred? You know what? I don't know. I want to rest Casemiro, but I can't deal with McFred together. I might go Scott. Igbal. I don't know. We'll go Scott, Fred, and Bruno. The taunted midfield three. I don't want to see it, but I would actually go here and try Palestri out on the right wing. Would I rest Rashford? Yeah, I'd play Garnacho and rest Rashford. And then would I play Martial if he's fit? Maybe I play. I don't know. Maybe I play Ronaldo one half, Martial the other. I would generally play a very rotated lineup. I'd rest Eriksen. I'd rest Eriksen, Lissandro Martinez, and Casemiro without a doubt. I'd give Palestri a chance. I'd like to see Iqbal given a chance. And I'd bring Martial on second half. I think that's what I would do. It's not a nice lineup. It's not a good lineup. But as Alex Cole said, I think you've just got to. I don't know. I don't know I don't know. Like he says, it's not a stupid competition. You should maybe put McNeil on. I would rest and play a lot of young players as well. We play a game every 2 days this season. Forget about the Carabao Cup. This is my thing. Like, if we get knocked out the Carabao Cup, I couldn't care. Like, for me, we should focus on Europa League and Premier League, and the City Cup competitions. If we got knocked out, we get knocked out. I generally think that is my thought process and stance on it. So I think I would rest the key players, not be overly bothered about playing a super strong squad, because my mind will be like, okay, at the end of the day, if you get knocked out of the Carabao Cup, it probably does us a favour, because look at the fixtures coming ahead. And, I'd use the Carabao Cup to maybe even play Iqbal. I'd maybe even consider playing Iqbal, but I think you'll want to get Fred more minutes and Fred and McTominay's legs as well. But these are all players that could be playing in the game, and you're spot on as well. Sancho and Anthony are out of the game, Erik Ten Hag did confirm, hence why I've not mentioned Sancho and Anthony, because Ten Hag said they're out of the game. Anthony's going to the World Cup, and if I'm being honest, they reckon Anthony's fit and pulling a fast one because he's not get injured before the World Cup. But look, shows our squad is too weak. This is our depth, 100% show. This is a shit squad. This is a shit lineup, but that is our depth. It just shows how shit it is as well. A trophy in his first season would bode well for Ten Hag. Europa looks tough. For me, I would rather win the FA Cup than the Carabao. I'd just get out the Carabao Cup easy and focus on the FA. Although the Carabao Cup is wrapped up early season, whereas the FA isn't, and the FA Cup, when it comes to the end of the season, more tight. It's a difficult one. I'd like to win a trophy, but I also think we can get top 4 as well. Unai Emery will probably start the same lineup. I reckon Unai Emery will just probably start something strong, won't he? But look, guys, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream here. Big up everybody for tuning into today's live stream. We spoke about potentially the Glazers selling, people coming into United, all of the news going around, bish, bash, bosh. So make sure you smash that like button. Of course, just go ahead and subscribe down to Manchester United if you're new. I will be live tomorrow for a Manchester United versus Aston Villa watch-along, people, followed by a match reaction. So do subscribe for that. If any news comes out, there'll be a morning upload tomorrow as well. So there could be a morning upload tomorrow. If not, we will be live anyway tomorrow for United Villa watch-along and a match reaction for the game. So big up everybody in the chat. Smash a like on the way out. Subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. See you next time, and bye.